There is a sense that the gnarliness of my last forecast kind of came true on a global level. Um, of course, again, it could be confirmation bias. I don't pretend to have like a feeling of like concreteness. Like I can say the sun is going to rise tomorrow. I'm confident of it, and I am. But the universe could be on its way out. The end could be near. This entire thing could go up. Of course, my perspective is very limited by what I feel is a more scientific, sensed-based experience of this experience that we're all a part of. I hope that vent sound on my computer is not disturbing you. I hope you can hear me just fine. I realize I could look better and work on presentation more, and there's a chance that one day I will want to do that. But for now, let's get into the story for this full moon lunar eclipse on October the 28th. So I like to always start with the sun. Why? Because the sun, to me, is the on switch. It is the brightest, most vital, light-giving force that is the epicenter of this experience we are having. Also, when you think about the sun in its more scientific way, as opposed to what the ancients thought, we know that the sun is the entity, if you will, that all of the other planets, including ours, are orienting around in more or less a narrow band referred to as the ecliptic. So here's the sun. The planets aren't going in all these different directions. It's more like this. So use Saturn's rings as like an idea, like with like an above and below, just like a band around the sun. Like all the planets are more or less kind of chilling, at least the ones we found. And we seem to have pretty good technology now. Of course, I know so little about that stuff. That's a more NASA type question than a cult art form. I'm trying to make sure my face is nice and relaxed. Relaxing the face. There's definitely some crunching happening there. So I start with the sun, this vital force. It is just transitioned into Scorpio. I'm getting a sense of like excitement because Libra is not my favorite place for the sun to be. It's because it suggests the story is one of essentially fall, where you have to work harder to bring out that vital light energy. So now that it's switching gears and now it's in Scorpio, we're moving away from that period and we're moving into this sort of scorpionic territory. So that signature right off the bat, if you just take that one facet of the story and you look at it, I'll show you here. Just the sun, we've got the sun in Scorpio, right? So at the time of the forecast, it's just essentially moved in, but by the time this happens, it'll be there. And it is, if you kind of look at the 10 degrees, it's just made it outside of a conjunction with this south node here, but it's close enough that we're gonna get a partial eclipse, because that's the eclipse point. So if the full moon, in this case, or the new moon, is kind of close to this, we're gonna get a little bit of an eclipse. So the moon is not getting like full-on eclipsed, because of the Earth. Here's the sun, here's the Earth, and the moon's on the other side. The light from the sun, the Earth is gonna cast a shadow on the moon. So that's gonna be happening because they're sort of close, but it's not like the whole deal. So as far as eclipse goes, it's still an eclipse, but it's not maybe as gnarly as like a full eclipse story would have to be. But it's still like you got injured. So because this because this moon is kind of close to where my natal moon is and where my Venus is, I'm kind of glad it's a partial one. Because I'd be like, shit, like, what's gonna happen to me? But I will say it's been a challenging month. I've been having some burning pain here, intense allergies, like, I mean, I think my emotional ebbs and flows, and like trying to figure out what I want to do and where I want to be and what's worth giving energy to and what's the point, and like that's been a theme for years. To be honest, I'm having trouble buying in to the society, but yeah. Anyways, this full moon, that Sun in Scorpio, is where we begin. It's more neutral. It's more neutral of a place, whereas in Libra it was kind of a challenge. So we're moving our vital force is hopefully going to increase. And who is in charge of Scorpio? Mars. And as you can see, Mars is right near Mercury. So Mars and Mercury significations are blending. So Mercury, well, and to a degree, the Sun is blending. But the thing is, when I think about Mercury and Mars blending, I'm like, oh, okay. Those two planets, their energy wants to start sharing. So the fiery messages, the fighting words, the since Mars is at home in Scorpio, it's like the stinger has more power, more poison, more finesse, extra emotional intensity, but like it has like it's cool. It's cool. It's like I am capable of going all the way. The issue is, though, when you start to factor in the Sun, which thankfully is not, well, the Sun's an interesting one. It's just so bright that if you were to go out and try and see Mars or Mercury, you couldn't. Because when things get so close to the Sun, in its massive luminescence, there you go, it makes it hard to see the individual things. And there's this idea in astrology that whenever something enters the heart of the Sun, it's called a cazimi. There's this entraining that happens. Like, I like to think of it as the eye of the storm. In some ways, it's like there's nowhere else to go, which is maybe not the most like free, but there is a sense of like deep integration perhaps that's necessary. So this is not that. The Sun is on its way that way, but Mercury's, I believe, moving quicker, and it's trying to get out and make its like rise so you can see it again. And Mars, I don't know which planet's moving the fastest right now. I'd have to kind of see, like, skip ahead over the next few days. If those planets are going to hang. I mean, Mercury always tries to get away and then gets pulled back. That's why it's retrograding so much. But there's this, again, Mars in Scorpio, very, very good, very, very deep. But the Sun is so close that I'm sort of like, whoa, like, that intensity and that depth of emotion is going so hard that I'm like, again, I think it's better than the Libra nonsense we've been dealing with, which is good, but there's this sense of like, okay, this intense depth, this warrior message, this plunging, stabbing, stinging, regenerative, oozy secretion sign, you know? It's feisty. I don't think it's exactly social. It's because that's more Libra. This is more it has a more independent, doing it your way kind of a feeling. And I think that since we know, okay, Leo is where the sun is in charge. There's no planets in Leo right now. Mercury is in charge of Virgo, and so it's getting, again, kind of obscured by the sun, and it's certainly meshing with Mars, which is, again, it's just intense words and cutting words. So it's like I'll describe it. So there's this group called Authentic Relating, and essentially, to me, authentic relating, much like Self-Realization Fellowship, they're these organizations that use these words, and I'm like, okay, so authentic relating means like being authentic and having a relationship. When I try and be authentic and relate to this group, I'm not paying them money. I'm not willing to compromise on the cold hard facts of reality. I want to be in a truthful exchange. So when this one person who's obviously triggered and emotional about what's going on in Israel, there's this terrorist group who's, causing a lot of suffering, and I believe it's because they're lost and it's an act of terror. But she said something like, Jews are always on this side of defense, and then I just was like, thinking of King David, who's like one of the OG Jewish figures, and he was certainly a violent person. He got someone killed because he wanted to marry yet another woman, and that child ended up becoming King Solomon, who was, again, very wise. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like, I was just like, wait, that isn't, I'm agreeing with you that this is tragic, but, like, I don't think that that's historically true. I mean, like, it's not fair to say that just because you're affiliated with a people group that you're just, like, above it. It's like, there are violent Buddhist energies that have existed, people who claim that. There are violent Christians, there's violent Jews, there's violent Muslims. Like, I don't know, I start getting uncomfortable when people start using these sweeping generalizations that factually, historically don't line up. But again, I was just exorcised from the group. They're like, we don't like you. And I'm like, well, I don't think your group is named appropriately. And like, I don't know, I have tough conversations. This Mars-Mercury signature is definitely in my birth chart pretty strong. Maybe it doesn't have this scorpionic version, it has the Aries version, so it's a little faster, a little quicker, a little more now, whereas Scorpio, it's more like holding your ground until the precise moment to strike. So that sense of like, okay, there's an intense amount of vital passion to go deep, to get to the depth. It's cool. It's a cool energy in that it's like probably capable of like amazing amounts of precision and really, really, really waiting until you're right in that perfect moment to seize. I can't stress that enough, that energy is definitely what's coming up. And as someone who doesn't want to kill things, right? And Scorpio, to me, is the killer in the zodiac. Like, of course, there are other signs that kill. Like, Leo is a killer. Scorpio is a killer. I suppose you can make an argument how they all are eventually. But certainly those two are the most lethal, the ones you have to be the most careful of. Scorpio, more like, watch out, because if you go around that rock or corner, you could get stung. My sister got stung by a scorpion once and she had to get zapped. The Leo is more like, just don't get near the lion, it'll maul you. Yeah. Of course, there are lion trainers and tamers. I'm not sure, maybe if a scorpion got its stinger removed, I'm not sure. I would have to look up and see if there's a soft side to scorpions. Not so sure. But that sort of vibration, So that Mercury is pulling in what's going on in Virgo. Venus is there. Still such an unfortunate placement for Venus. Again, Venus doesn't cause trouble wherever she is. At least that's not her intention. But whenever Venus is in Virgo, there's a sense of just sort of like not really getting it. Like that's been, again, I know people have that placement, so it kind of offends it, but it's like they just don't necessarily get it. It's like awkward. It's there's a deep desire to get it when it comes to Venus things and like goodness and beauty, but it's just like they just don't get it. But it's sweet. It's sweet, and it can be worked with, but it's like hard. It's hard. It's hard because it like takes something that can be so simple and so beautiful, and it just sort of complicates it. Like, I'm just trying to think of like a plus side to it. Like a love of critical energy, a love of really trying to almost like geek out on perfectionism. Like it's nice in the context of maybe like a project or doing research around something, and like I can see how that's kind of nice. It's just not the most. It's so shifty. It's so shifty. It still is Earth. It's still real. It's still tangible. It's just, yeah. But anyways, that Mercury is being kind of charged up by the fiery cutting of Mars, which is very happy to be there, which again is helping. But yeah, that Venus in Virgo is then being sucked in by Mercury, so it's like that loving, beautiful quality is now like having to be a little aggressive, which is not necessarily like Venus's like forte, but I guess it's gonna have to be. Like there's like you're just gonna have to dot the I's and cross the T's, and like proofreading. You gotta do it. If you want it to be good, you gotta do it. Like that's probably a good thing to try to do with this signature. Just sort of like double check. Like read it out loud. Or if you can, wait till the next day, read it again. Use AI. Like, why not? So, and then that Venus in Virgo, let me show you again. So the sun pulling in Leo, nothing there. Ruled over by that Mars in Scorpio, so it's home. It also pulls in Aries, which has got the North Node and Chiron. Again, these, since I'm not entirely sure. So I know that Mars rules Aries. So maybe the story is it's interesting. So with Mars and Venus, whenever you have one of those planets at home, it doesn't have access to the other one easily, because fire and water do not easily exchange energy, especially when they're in what's called in conjunction. So they're not even, it's not opposites balancing each other out where they can at least see each other. It's like there's just like a missing. That always happens with Mars and Venus, always. So it's like they're the head of the dragon, the demonic, eternally craving aspect of us, which I don't want to say is good or bad. It just seems to be part of it. it's far, again, it's the part that's clipping the moon. It's the part, it's, so because the moon is close to that dragon point right here, like, certainly Mars is happy, so Aries is happy, but it's not like these planets are influencing as much. Again, the sun is exalted and it's heating it up. I don't know, I just think that there's like a slight, I'm getting a wound around sharing messages. It's like, okay, so words convey, again, this one's, maybe I'm projecting, your chart could be way different, but I have Mercury at 13 degrees, so Chiron's still, it's been hanging out there for a long time. I'm really ready for it to move on. But that kind of, for me, because it's such a critical planet in my chart, it's like I'm sending out messages and ideas, and there are a few people that are like deeply appreciative of that, and they're okay with it, and it works for them, and they even call to like continue receiving that sort of initiatory, now fiery presence. It's there, it's funneling, it's, again, I'm not trying to make people feel bad for saying things, for sharing ideas, but it's like, because people are so sensitive and so egoically attached, it's like when I'm in class and the kids are saying things like, she's looking at me, and it's because they know that person is like basically like sending some sort of like intuitively they know that person has like decided that they've done something wrong or embarrassing, and it's just they're sensing it, they're aware of it. And what I try to tell the kids is like, well, is it true? Like, is what they're sharing true? Do you want to make a change? How do you want to use their perspective? And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, well then, ignore them. If it's not true, then don't waste your energy. Don't obsess over it. So there's like an Aries, I don't think is gonna hold on to things as long as a Scorpio is. It doesn't have that staying power. But because Mars, which is in charge, is in that staying power, it's just like, it makes me think that Aries in itself is, how can you use the wound that you've experienced in that part of your chart where your individual impulsive right now body is, like, for me it's like I'm almost codependent sometimes. Like I'm just like, I got invited by a guy today to go to the beach and hang out, and I just don't want to leave the apartment. Like, I don't want to spend my parents' money filling up the car to go to like the beach whenever I can just like lay here. And it's, I express, I just don't have the energy. I just don't want to do it. And he said, I respect your decision. And, you know, like, I could try and counter and say like, hey, well, if you want to come near me, and that's fine. I just don't want, but he just said, I respect your decision. And I don't really feel like digging more. I'm not curious right now. Like, I'm not wanting, it's like I'm just sort of pulling, there's just not a lot of that. I don't I don't know how to describe this, but if you're having a struggle with your individual energy, because that's where this demonic dragon head and this wounded healer energy are sort of presiding, but anyways, way deep on that. But so Mars in Scorpio conjunct Mercury, pulling in that Aries. Mercury's pulling in Gemini, which is empty, and Virgo, Venus. We talked about that, and then that Venus is pulling in Taurus, which is where the moon is. So the moon in Taurus, the opposite one. We already talked about that awkward, critical. It's just not smooth. It's just not effortless for the good vibes to flow and the beauty and the comfort. It's just like it just doesn't quite get it. It's beyond aesthetic. It's like it's just like not like the energy and the love is there. It's just not aligning. It's not connecting. It's not connecting well to the things that it wants to. It's certainly interested in serving, but it just doesn't necessarily seem to have it comfortable. But again, so that Venus is in charge of Taurus right now. So I just feel like what is normally like let's say once Venus gets into Libra, or even when Venus was in Leo, like even that neutral, Venus in Leo is more neutral. Once Venus gets into Libra, it's like very well, like expectations are like there. So like Leo's like, I like it like this. Virgo's like, I see that, but this is what like society says it should be. So it's just, it doesn't have that like, I've decided that this is fair, or let's have a discussion about what's fair. Let's look. And that is very loving because it can balance. Whereas in Leo, it's maybe not as strong as it is in that balancing, connective, socially adept Libra, but like it's in the me, myself, and I doing what I like, and there's a vitality there that's strong. So Venus would rather be in Leo, I would rather be in Libra, but it has to, that change is a result of like deep critical energy trying to serve the self and the other, the individual mastery as well as the social like order. And Virgo has that really hard task. Loving that transition is not easy, and Venus is in the middle of it, in the heart of that transition, and it's not necessarily sure. It wants to serve both, but it's troubling. So again, that moon in Taurus is like, my moon is in Taurus, like I said, this is pretty close to a lunar return partial eclipse. So there's this understanding that like even though Venus is struggling, whatever it does, like the Taurus moon will take advantage of it. Like it's not gonna be like let's say maximum you can accomplish, you can achieve, you can manifest 10 beautiful things. Like let's say that is like Venus's, like if Venus is completely exhausted, like we are squeezing all of the beauty and love and pleasure that we can in Venus in Virgo, like 5 of them are not gonna happen, just because like it's just like Virgo doesn't know how to Virgo can't handle that. So like whereas if Venus was in Taurus, you could probably get all 10. Like so you're already working with that fall, that challenge. And because Mercury is obstructed by the sun, that doesn't help things. Because Mars is there, it's probably like, I mean, we're talking like there's just not that many good, pleasurable, fun, joyous things that are gonna be on your plate in this moment. Again, astrology is just a story. But it's like, okay, so let's just accept that. Taurus will accept that. The moon in Taurus will accept, these are the 3.5 good things, I'm doing those. It'll do it right away. There'll be no contest. It'll be upset, perhaps, that the other, 6.5 things, which it is wanting, are not available. But it's like, nope, these are the things that are available. These are the things that are good. I'm giving energy to those because it's an eclipse. Out of those 3.5, probably only 2 of them are actually going to work out, because you're trying to do one of those things and then the bottom falls out. Or you get a flat tire. Or you miss the flight. Like, I don't know. I don't want to be negative. And to help, again, we've got Jupiter pretty close to the moon. So that they're pretty close. Yeah, and that Jupiter is totally opposite of that Mars and Mercury. So I don't know how to read that, because oppositions are conflict. Slowing it down, totally going in different directions. So again, when you have an opposition from Jupiter, I don't know if that's going to it's like a lot of comfortable, habitual pleasantries is what Jupiter. So if Venus can do 10, Jupiter wants to do 20 of good things, because it's being opposed by this fiery messenger warrior energy, and that sun. It's that line. I don't know. I don't want to make it. I don't want the story to be too rigid. But it seems like if Scorpio is okay with being alone and going into the depths, and that's where the sun is, that's where Mars is, and it's ruling, and then now you have this Jupiter in Taurus, which is, again, more neutral in Taurus. And it's not as powerful because Venus is not doing the best. And the moon is getting eclipsed. It's just, how about a sense of like a wisdom, a deep wisdom, a lovely teaching could. I'm feeling inclined to share that even the gnarliest, most challenging manifestations, which it's okay to despise, it's okay to dislike, it's okay to want to challenge them, if you think about them as like an act of like artistry, just for a moment, again, like the complexity of the human body, which can be triggered so much to do an act of violence or to, create a symphony. Like, there's these. Is there a place in your heart that can sense a clear preference for beauty, goodness, truth? Of course. But can you almost. I think we're getting drugged into the depths, into this martial. I think the Jupiter isn't able to probably counter. I don't want to say this, but it's like there's dead weight. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting. Because, Jupiter is not trying to do anything bad. But it's like, let's take a snack. Let's take a snack. A lovely snack. Like, what's your favorite snack? What is your favorite snack? Like, I think, again, I'm not promoting this because I do think that there's some ethics here, but Doritos are delicious. They're crunchy, they're light, they're flavorful, and ooh, like I'm feeling something here. Like there's something about them that is marvelous, and I think it is marvelous that we can make those, and how those are made is something that I should probably YouTube and see if I can like try to create a similar experience, a similar taste, something that lovely, but without the trash packaging, without any unnecessary flavor things that are probably not something that my body is used to. Like I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, because I don't think having a snack now and then is a problem, but it just isn't. It just maybe not the most beautiful snack, but it does taste great. Like and so, like when I went camping, I did. Like I got a bag of Doritos and I enjoyed them a great deal, but I don't know if I really want to spend my money doing that. I don't know if I really want to. If I allow myself to go deep, it's like I kind of need to let that go. I don't really think that's serving me. But my friend just messaged me, the red lip looks so good. I'm like, yes. Lipstick is so fun. It's so fun. It really is. But okay, the moon in Taurus, bowing down to Venus, Jupiter bowing down to Venus, and then that moon pulls out what's going on in Cancer, which is empty. Jupiter pulls in, I'll show you. I think I like to do it periodically. Jupiter pulls in Pisces, and Sag is empty. So what is Jupiter pulling in? Jupiter is pulling in Neptune, opposing Venus. Neptune is, yeah, I mean, there's certainly some stuff. Like, I've been watching this Earth, Water, Earth. Well, actually, yeah. Earth, Water, Earth, that little blue triangle. It's been chilling for a while. It's been chilling for a while. Awkward Venus is definitely making a point there. The Saturn and Sun trine. And of course, so that would be a sextile, right? Water, beginning of water to, yeah, beginning of Earth. So, what do I want to say about this Saturn that's being pulled in? More so than the Neptune. Neptune's like the dream. Surrendering fully to the vastness, the cyclical, expansive vastness. Saturn is like, but boundaries, but limits, but the firm. Saturn and Pisces. Here we go. Here we go. That Jupiter is fine in Taurus, but is disemboweled by Venus. I don't know how I feel about the limits and the boundaries. So it feels like in order for the boundaries and the firm, rigid structure, it's left Aquarius where it was super at home, and now it's in Pisces where things are getting... It's not like the ocean doesn't have boundaries, the ocean doesn't have death, but it's like a little less... Like it just doesn't feel as similar. So like, what would be the boundaries of a fish? Like, if they're outside of the water, if they accidentally got out, they'll dry up. So you kind of have to be careful. Like, of course, death's there. If you piss off the tiny-brained shark, or if the shark is hungry and, You can't get away. I mean, there's just limits. There's just death. There's boundaries. There's rules, even in the sea, even for the fishies. But like, so if the ocean is getting, if the oceans, if the fishies, if the collective, porous, connective, it's like Neptune and Pisces, I can see why the modern astrologers like to give it to Pisces. I can see why. But Jupiter makes more sense because Pisces are not necessarily escape artists. Like, a lot of them are very, very involved with something. Like, people with Pisces moons in management, or people who are Pisces that are, they just know their way around the ship. Kind of like, this is what we do here, and this is how you do this. And they may have a more emotional, flightier nature, and they're probably more likely to just sort of spill open their feeling. So if Saturn's coming in there, it's making those feelings a little sharper, a little colder, a little more rigid, putting up a few more boundaries, like Nemo maybe strayed a little too far from home, and look what happened. We got boundaries for a reason. King Triton's like, Ariel, don't you do it. You need to stay away from there. I don't think she did it, but oh, Jupiter. The buck stops with this. All of it's coming back to this Scorpio energy. I'll show you one more time just so you can see. Mars in Scorpio is definitely chilling in its place. It's not being bounced around. It doesn't have an allegiance to anything else. The sun is very bright, so it's obstructing it. Mercury is giving it a lot of ideas for what to cut. And again, that Mercury pulls in Venus, which pulls in Jupiter and the moon. And that Jupiter pulls in Saturn and Neptune. Saturn pulls in Pluto. What else? Uranus is there. Yeah, I mean, there's something deep. So for me, if I was to kind of close with this full intensity, full bright, give off the energy, what is it? What is it that's making its way out? It's like, I'm still running my errands. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm still having conversations. I'm still trying to be authentic with my communal messages. For me, this is getting into the second, third house region of my chart. So it's my stuff, my money, my errands, my messages, my writings. It's also focused on early childhood education. So I'm still doing a little bit of the substitute teaching here and there. I'm exploring a move. I want to visit Oregon to see if maybe the farm life is something that could work for me. I don't know if it will be. I'm just not really wanting, if I'm getting to the bottom, I'm not really enjoying my patterns. It doesn't really fulfill me. But recently I went to ecstatic dance, which was really good for me, I think. I'm pushing that part of my chart into my consciousness now. And of course, the book energy is coming up, giving energy to the tail of the salve serpents. I don't seem to mind to do this process. This is a form of like sending messages that are deep. That's the point. I don't know. I'm faced with so much abundance and choice and challenge and system and structure, and I'm like, whoa, what do I value? What is important? What should I choose to do with my days if I'm not gonna work? What is my like realistic long-term trajectory? Like if I don't want to do this anymore, then where do I go? What do I want to do? I applied for Survivor. Seems like the exercise, eating healthier food, drinking water, trying to give some energy to the creative project. There isn't a sense of excitement. There's not a sense of deep abiding joy. I've got 2 trips planned the rest of the year. Going to the farm in Oregon for a week. Going to visit my family for a week. I have a choir recital. I'm gonna see my friend. I have therapy too. I'm gonna tell them that I don't want to take the medication because it made me feel jittery. I might pop one again today just to see if I really feel anything differently. But I'm not sure I really want to do that. It's just, like, there is a sense of kind of calm. What's preventing me? Maybe a prayer. I invoke, I call upon the deepest truth. Words might not be clear to me at this time. I may not understand or agree with or like a lot of the things that manifest because of their unpleasant quality. What needs to be released to the regenerative death? What needs to be rotted? What needs to perish? You know, I am thinking of the idea of everlasting life and heaven. I'm like, is there a connection between like letting those ideas like rot? Like composting them? Letting the worms do their work? What is this sensation? What do I need to do differently? What is my kind of push? It's like what do I want to dedicate? There's a dedication energy here. It's like pick something and do it. nourish this temporary meat suit that's on its way out? Because you want things to be pretty, even though you know that they don't last? I don't know, it's like little children just get so involved and so passionate about all these things. Practicing. Deepening. Gosh, in my chart there's something that's, I don't know how to describe it other than like most unfortunate. How fortunate. I know that sounds so weird. Most unfortunate is the moon and Venus coming together. Honestly, when the moon gets too close to anything, I sort of don't like it. I kind of like the moon to be like in Cancer with maybe like a supportive trine from like a Jupiter and Pisces. Like, yeah, like, okay. That's like a nice relationship, but so the moon is just so damn shifty. The moon is so close, and then she's totally invisible, and then she's just in your face, and she just comes back, and again, and again, and again, and now she's hurt. She's hurt. But yeah, the how unfortunate. How fortunate. Energy, because so since I have the moon in Taurus and Venus in Taurus conjunct very close, it's like the moon in her rounds, she's always integrating with it all. Like there's no avoiding with the moon. Like you have to touch it all. She just touches it all, fast. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. If it's good, it'll be good again. If it's bad, it'll be bad again. It is changing, but it's like, it's familiar and close, and you can touch it, and you're receiving it, and then it's gone, and then it's there, and then it's gone. It's that pace of the moon. That pace of the moon. So if in your birth chart there's something close, like for me, Venus, it's like my moon energy and my princess love pleasure energy, like you can see why when something is wanting beauty and pleasantries and love, like it might not be considered like a great omen for this harsh realm that we're in, because not everything is like lovey-dovey rainbows and gooseberries. Like there's pains and aches, and it just, like, I just don't want to. I just don't want to. Is that true? I don't want to. What do I not want to do? Like for a sexy body, you gotta work out. But it's not fun to work out. So like my Venus is like, meh. But the reason why I'll say it's fortunate is because Venus is in Taurus and the moon is in Taurus. There couldn't be a better place for that to happen, because it's so simple, it's so practical, it's so time-tested, it's so comfortable, that like the things that maybe that I want are actually like really healthy and good to want. They're not like crazy, they're not unrealistic, they're not unwieldy. Unwieldy? What is the word? Unwieldy? Difficult to carry or move because of its size, shape, or weight, yes. So it's workable. It is workable. And because Venus came first, that means that the moon integrated with Venus, and she's like, boom, right there. So like the conjunction is happening. But like technically, I don't know, so astrologers think that whichever thing comes first is like in charge. So like in the chart right now, you've got the moon first. So the moon hasn't, I mean, Jupiter is going backwards, so they're facing each other, so at least they're looking at each other. To me, if they have a face, the moon is going to see Jupiter and Jupiter's going to see the moon, so that's a little helpful. Uranus is going to see the moon too. But whenever it's like they haven't connected yet. Gosh, and Venus is just not happy right now. As you can see, I've shared a lot of story. Having a dialogue and a discussion and feeling into those flavors and sharing things in this way doesn't feel criminal, it doesn't feel bad. It may not be interesting, but if it is, let me know. If beauty is one of my values, and I see people who are fit as beautiful, can I, despite not enjoying that necessarily, not feeling like it's pleasant, can I get it done? Or, seeing the beauty of people reading and experiencing fantasy, can I write one? Since I know that music and these other pleasantries delight, can I get involved? Can I practice? Can I improve? Can I focus on the goodness, on the truth, and the beauty? I think an evolved Mars-Scorpio energy is going to care deeply about the truth. I think that the sun and the depth in Scorpio, it is truth, assisted by that truth, that depth. And I think that beauty, maybe even goodness, is coming into Taurus because of that Jupiter. Just goodness. Goodness to me is Jupiter. Beauty is Venus. Truth is like the sun. Yeah, if I think that they're benefic in nature, if the sun is benefic in nature, if I choose to think like the sun is the truth, Jupiter is goodness, and Venus is beauty. So what would be the inverse? What's badness? Is the moon really badness? That doesn't feel right. Is the moon in its antithesis to the sun, is it really, can it be bad? Can I start thinking of the moon as bad? I don't think so. Where's the bad? Badness has its place. I mean, the badness in the moon, where would badness be? It's like I'm so much more uncomfortable assigning a planet that energy. Ugliness is the opposite of beauty. Badness, ugliness, lies. I mean, it's so weird. I don't know why. If you had to assign a planet for goodness and a planet for badness, Saturn, death, limits, boundaries, bad though? I mean, I guess, if you had to, ugliness. Mars? Probably. So badness is Saturn, opposite of goodness, Sun. Ugliness is Mars, opposite of beauty, Venus. Lies, opposite. Wait a minute. If Sun is the truth, so wait, Jupiter is goodness, Saturn is badness. Beauty is Venus, ugliness is Mars. Or is ugly. But damn, warriors can be sexy. See, it doesn't work as well, but goodness. The truth is the sun. Does the moon lie? I mean, Mercury lies, but doesn't have to lie. It's more neutral. How is the moon lying? How does the mother lie? Let me comfort you. Let me feed you. Let me take care of you. Like, to me, a Mercury that's in trouble is a liar. Can be mischievous and lie and not be kind. A lie. But I guess maybe the moon. I'm here, I'm not. That's a form of lying. A dishonesty, inconsistency, maybe. But does the body lie? Does the mind, the fast mind lie? Signification is often associated with the moon. Given how it's so close and you can touch it, we've literally landed on it as a species. It's got to be something tangible. Is this... It's like people say that material realm is a lie. Like, I don't know. At this point, I think I've gone on too long. I think I've gone on too long. Dishonesty in a chart. I wouldn't give dishonesty to the moon as a signature. That doesn't feel right. And truth could also go to Jupiter. I think, yeah, I've reached a limit. I've reached a limit. It's all nonsense now. There's no more flow around it. But I've passed an hour in what felt like a flow state. And it's only 3:37. I'm not yet tired. I don't think I'm hungry. Why not try and give and serve and improve upon and enjoy? Why do I sit and do nothing over and over and over and over and over? Or watch TV? Or go for another walk? Or maybe watch TV and lift weights? Or why is none of it really feeling I feel like a constriction right here. Now it's right here. It's like this. I don't like it. I would really love to get to the depth of how I can. I'm afraid my brain wants to create disaster scenarios. It's like, I want to be more valuable, functional, helpful, but at the same time, I just don't want to give energy to things that don't seem worthwhile. Like right now, clearing my throat. Is that worthwhile? Why do it? Why not just be in control instead of knee-jerk just... No. I'm fine. I can feel whatever it is gathering there, but I don't need to clear it. I can be calm. I can be calm. I wanna like this. Wanna like this more. Wanna like this. Wanna like this more. Don't you? How can we do that? Even if that means napping, resting, I don't want to say that I have the answers, but I'm here too. And I want to be on the side of this universe. I want to integrate with my feelings and the different things that, you could demonize and you could criminalize and you could say are sinful, but it's like they're part of it. And I get it. People's egos and their sensitivities and all that is part of it. And I don't want to make an enemy of them. But I'm also like, how do I honor the absolutes that seem to be the case? Like the fact that Jesus is alleged to have taken bread and fed many people, even though it doesn't make sense to have more bread than you started with. Like that seems to defy the laws of physics. It feels like a fairy tale story, or to walk on water. We have tools now and machines and boats and things, but it's like, or maybe it was frozen. That would make more sense. I mean, there's miraculous medical things that happen. What if it's like, so the paralysis of the man that Jesus healed, he's like, get up and walk. What if I need to what if can that miracle happen to me? I know that I'm not paralyzed, but there's a sense of just like, can I command myself? Like I can command myself to pick up my phone. I could command myself to exercise. I could command myself to do what? Go live on another platform? Have 7 people watch it? I wanna like this. Wanna like this more. This being what is, but I don't want to demonize the fact that I'm not always grateful, I'm not always excited, I'm not always happy, I'm not always comfortable. I want transformation, I want change, I want cool vibes. Indeed, I do. I have a lot of skills, I'm very focused, I'm very artistic, I can do this. I want community. I want community. I don't necessarily have a lot of resources, but I guess what I have I can share. But I guess I'm holding on to a life that's sort of not really that fun anyways, so maybe it's better to I feel intense things, but there's no... It's like I'm in a state of whoop. I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. I'm just sort of like in this sort of, maybe it's a free state. Some paralysis. Come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to me. Why won't you make a choice? I don't want inner conflict. It's like so numb and cold. I'm looking at the number 45. 3:45 on the stove, 3:43 on the computer. Clocks, pumpkins. Just numbness. There's like there's no driver. But there's a calm. There's an erect spine. There's a message on Grindr. There's me saying love, light, and the snake's back.